Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to talk about this upcoming solar eclipse on October 14th, an annular solar eclipse. And just want to let you know this is the 55th episode of Science, Planets, and Stellar Rhythm. So I've got a lot to talk about with this solar eclipse. We are in the midst of eclipse season. Basically, the month of October is this eclipse season. And they can typically run for about a month, a little over a month. But the center of it being sort of the point where the sun reaches the south node. A lot of activities, a lot of mention about this and the degrees. So what could this be for all of us coming forth in with this upcoming eclipse? Each eclipse is a major deal. So we're really going to dive into this. And just a few updates here in regards to doing a live stream here on YouTube. That is still in the works. Still, I'm going to work on that and come up with some things in the coming months. So stay tuned for that. That's still in my thoughts. In addition to that, there's an upcoming online course that Kim Costello and I are doing called the Stellar Gateways, working with the geomagic portals in the sky. These are have to do with the stars, so symbolically, mythologically connected to our ancestral origins, and then one to our destiny point. So just be on the lookout for announcements around that. There's a preview video on this channel, so you can check out as well. So let's dive into this solar eclipse, which is going to be happening in my neck of the woods, which is always exciting when that happens. Which doesn't occur all that often. So hopefully you're going to be around somewhere along the path of the eclipse along the Americas to check out here. All right. So yes, this is a Libra solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse, meaning that the sun will have its ring around the moon, and the moon is a little farther than usual from the Earth, and so it doesn't completely cover the sun, and that's why it's called an annular. Annular meaning ring, so the word annual. This is all related to that particular thing. All right, let's see what major things we're going to talk about with regards to this eclipse. A little bit on the eclipse season. What is that? And then the annular eclipse, which will take up most of this. And then what does it mean? There's a couple of slides around that, including the Sabian symbol of this eclipse. All right, now this eclipse season, we've got two major eclipses. This first one coming up October 14th, 2023 at 2107 Libra, the astrological sign of Libra. And this will be viewed in the United States, including Oregon, where I am, Central America, the Gulf of Mexico, along with the upper portion or the northern part of South America. It'll be conjunct Mercury and the south node and be opposite. I've got a chart about that, opposite Chiron. And then the second eclipse of this eclipse season is a partial lunar eclipse on the other side of the planet, primarily Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, and just a little bit of a shade of South America as well. Because that happens in basically in the daytime of where the Americas are at that point. All right, what is the path of this eclipse? Here is the path. This is from timeanddate.com. Actually, that's a great resource. If you go to timeanddate.com, they've got a lot of information about eclipses as well as earthsky.org. These are websites you can go to get some great additional free information, especially if you're trying to find whether the eclipse passes over your neck of the woods, your city, maybe you're visiting or traveling. You can see a lot of Central America is going to be covered like that, and the sort of the western to the southwestern portion of the U.S. will be covered. And then even in the partial areas, you'll be able to see at least partial from the majority of the U.S. and in Canada and Mexico as well. At its maximum point, which is right around this area here, Texas and the Gulf of Mexico down into part of South America, sorry, Central America, it roughly is about 5 minutes and 14 seconds long. So it lasts a little bit longer in annular because the moon is farther away from the Earth, so it looks like it's traveling a little slower there at that point. So it's covering the sun a little bit longer than it would normally cover in a total solar eclipse. Okay, so in the sky, and for those that are along the center line of this, this is what the constellation it's in. This is where the eclipse is taking place. Now, obviously, these constellations will not be visible even during an annular eclipse. It'll be much darker, of course, but not dark enough to where these planets, Mercury and Mars, or these other stars are going to pop out. So just something to be aware of. And when you're viewing this, always have some kind of special viewing glasses, like a special welding glass that you can see the sun. Because in a total solar eclipse, once it goes total, you can look at it with your naked eye. But in an annular eclipse, you definitely need some special glasses or something to filter out the sun's rays. So make sure that you have that. And again, this is going to be taking place at 21:07 Libra. And the center of this in the Pacific time, Pacific Daylight Time, is 9:19 a.m. and that would be 12:19 Eastern Daylight Time. So it's basically these time zones, one of maybe about 4 different time zones that it's going to be going over as we go along the path of that eclipse. But you can see it's near the star Spica. I wanted to show this map so you can see how important it is. It's only 3 degrees away from the star Spica, which is at about 24.5 degrees of Libra, and representing the shaft of wheat or grains of Mother Earth, of Gaia. So I liken this priestess constellation in a way. It's kind of I'd say it's a archetype or an avatar of in the sky of Mother Earth in that way, at least sort of one aspect of her in the sky, and the priestess being the caretaker of her rhythms and her patterns, along with honoring the harvest, and that's why she's holding that grain the grains there. All right, so here's the eclipse season. What defines an eclipse season? So this is the point when the lunar nodes really begin to slow down. The descending and ascending nodes, or the south node or north node, they're really beginning to slow down. So there's barely any movement there. And then the last major phase, or the full moon we had on September 29th, that's not necessarily the start, but it's kind of in that zone where we're kind of getting to the beginning, because from what I understand, this is about a month's worth, 31 to about 37 days typically is an eclipse season. But usually it's a 2-week period where you have the 2 eclipses, and then there's a center of that eclipse period, which you have the 2 eclipses on the 14th and the 28th of October. And then on October 18th, that's the center, because that's when the sun connects or conjuncts with the lunar node, whatever lunar node. Like next year, there's going to be a total solar eclipse in April, and that'll be on the opposite end of the node, the ascending node. So just something to keep in mind. And the nodes play an very, very important role, not only in determining the eclipses, but also metaphysically and symbolically, and what happens there. You can see the south node of the descending node here is at 2452 Libra. That's only about 3.5 degrees, or just under 4 degrees away from the actual eclipse here. And then the partial lunar eclipse on the 28th takes place at 5 degrees Taurus. I'll do a separate video just for the lunar eclipse towards the end of October. All right, here's the chart for the eclipse. This is officially at the new moon really shows 10:55 a.m., but that's when the actual new moon takes place. But the center of the eclipse is 9:19. So we're again, this is solar fire, so it's not necessarily as far as our experience with the eclipse is going to be a little bit different. All right, we can see Mercury involved in this. We can see opposite Chiron here and the North Node with Eris. So I also want to mention Eris because she's playing an important role as well with regards with Chiron and its relationship there in our wounds around Aries and mission and purpose, and particularly with the masculine. That is something that is still in this transmission current phase for humanity. And then what does it mean? Well, I'm going to share this and also share the Sabian symbol here in a few moments. But the Libra annual solar eclipse is about our relationships with others. Since this eclipse takes place on the descending or the south node, it has a lot to do with our ancestors and our past lives as well. The star Spica, as I shared earlier, brings in an element of Gaia in our relationship with her as well. The eclipse provides commentary to our current state of how we are treating Earth and vice versa, as well as treating each other. So there's this really important factor that Libra brings in. The inclusion of Mercury and opposite of Chiron as well brings in a strong quality of their eclipse about healing, are their qualities and the eclipse about healing our relationships with others, as well as with Gaia. And this can be included in the inner other as well, the sacred beloved. So something to think about as this eclipse takes place, to meditate on, to reflect on, to process, and how we communicate with the others without being like fixed and or attached to a particular belief system or an unwillingness to see other viewpoints. This is also what's in the cards. It's there to kind of give that highlight that area of ourselves for humanity and human beings. We can get connected into one belief or one attachment, fixed into something without really listening or hearing what the other person is saying, and not really understanding, perhaps because we're only viewing it from our world without opening up to the potential of looking at it from their perspective and why they might have that perspective, perhaps even if you don't agree with that perspective. So the eclipse may open up things and create a more reactive response and a codependency with the wounds, as much as it might help us communicate with others. So it can have the duality, highlight the duality between the responses that we have with others as well. So here's the Sabian symbol. I always like to look at that with new moons and full moons, and particularly if there's the Sabian symbol of like maybe a particular other kind of conjunction or an opposition or something. I like to look at this. So we add one when we're looking at Sabian symbols to the number of the degree. So this would be 22 Libra. This has a lot to do with a child. The symbol of this from Linda Hill's work and the Sabian Oracle book, 360 degrees of wisdom. So the symbol is a child giving birds a drink at the fountain or at a fountain. Enjoyment, experience, nourishing souls, the need for water, simple pleasures, a lot of things about innocence and taking time out for others. Spontaneous gifts, moments of innocence, spontaneity, and fun, as well as putting aside your own needs and stopping and helping others as well, enjoying interaction. So I like the Sabian symbol and its simplicity of particularly with regards to Libra, and stepping in and looking at others and seeing the others as also life beings, and maybe connecting with them from a friendly perspective, a diplomatic perspective, and offering gifts. And in this case, with the birds and the connecting with their intelligence, connecting with their wisdom as well, shamanically speaking. So we've got all these different things coming in with that. And you see water, and then it's in the priestess constellation, which has to do with the harvest and food, which is, of course, without water, we wouldn't have that. so we can see a correlation here between our how we nourish ourselves as well and our relationship with Mother Earth. So that's the Sabian symbol here with this annular solar eclipse. So thank you all for being on this and watching this. Please like and subscribe if you do, and share as well. I'm Erik Roth, and I do this for a living. I not just at YouTube, but sharing astrological information on social media, including YouTube. And I do personal astrology readings out there over Zoom, phone, and if I'm happen to be in your neighborhood while traveling, that's also a place I can offer that. I do classes and events in astrocartography, and you can find me at inspiralnexus.com as well as mystaralchemy.com, where I do the online courses about the stars, including this upcoming stellar gateways, these the gateway of and triangles of ancestral origins and of destiny as well. A divine destiny is what we're moving into calling that as well, Caitlin and I. So that'll be launching in November, and there's a free webinar on October 17th that we're going to be making announcements. So check out my website under My Star Alchemy to check that out, and subscribe to my newsletter to get more information as well about that. I look forward to seeing you next time, and you all have a great viewing of the eclipse season, and enjoy, everyone.